This is really good. Oh, this is so long.
The longest 1 minute ever, huh?
Standing room only.
Still coming.
Yeah.
Bigger board, put that on the.
Yeah.
Oh. Turn the air down?
Call to order the Rainbow Municipal Water District Board of Directors meeting for September 24th, 2024. Can I have a roll call, please?
President Hamilton,
Here?
Vice President Johnson,
Here.
Director Mack,
Here.
Director Townsend Smith,
Here.
Director Dale.
Here.
Thank you.
Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any additions, deletions, or amendments to the agenda?
No additions, no change to the agenda. Sorry.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as published? So moved. Moved by Director Mack, seconded by
Dale.
I'm sorry, I heard a voice, but I didn't see the lips. Seconded by Director Dale. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Public comment. Do we have any external members on the phone or?
We do
Zoom?
have one member of the public on the phone.
Okay. Any person may address the board at this time upon any subject not identified on this agenda, but within the jurisdiction of the Rainbow Municipal Water District. However, any matter that requires action will be referred to staff for a report and action at a subsequent board meeting. As to matters on the agenda, if a request to make a public comment is received, an opportunity will be given to address the board when the matter is considered. Okay, and we have no request, no written request to speak.
We do not.
No one
Okay.
is.
Employee recognition.
All right, got some good ones today. First one, we're gonna honor Malik. So, really been a pleasure working with Malik. Just last year for me, but he is our senior project manager and really oversees, many of our projects, most of our projects these days. But obviously this year has been, he really had a tremendous year. I'm sure all five have been tremendous, but being here for this one and seeing just the level of dedication to the projects. He is responsive. Everything you want in a project manager is what Malik is. Responsive, professional, and I've been in this side of the business for a long time, and he is so valuable to the big things that we do here, right? The construction of our pump stations, the construction of our lift station, and everything in between. I know there's 400 other projects that nobody even knows about that he's working on. But I just couldn't appreciate Malik more and what he's meant to the district this year. I got to comment on his review this year, and I could have wrote a lot more, right? There was a lot of really, really good things, but I always appreciate it. I stopped by his office and we talked project management and good stuff. And I learned a lot from him. And so anyways, really appreciate your 5 years here and the one I've got to spend with you. It's been fantastic. And so it's my honor. Okay, and we have another one, right? One more.
Rumor has it.
Mark Klein. So Mark Klein was hired by the district on September 21st, 1989. 1989. He's celebrating 35 years this year, and Mark's been, no pun intended, but instrumental in really the kind of the innovation that's gone on around the district as far as the SCADA systems and our controls and electrical and cameras and everything in between. Really kind of the lifeblood of what we do, right? The water doesn't move without these guys. And it's a very small group. Him and Ed Bradley and we have an intern now,
Caitlin
Caitlin.
and Fred.
And Freddie and Ahmed. I mean, that group there, and Paul. Yep.
Paul.
That whole group, they make the water move. They're out there troubleshooting and replacing parts that have probably been around since pre 1989 and things like that. They do a lot for the district. And getting to know Mark over the last year too, just a really fantastic guy. I know, really well liked around the district. I love chatting with him, by the coffee pot in the morning and, hearing about the adventures of the weekend and those kind of things. So just a really positive influence around here, in addition to really the great work that you've done for half the district's existence. So thank you. And I think there's some
We
others.
have something. So.
Yep.
Yeah, got it. Wow.
Little tribute.
Wow.
Yeah, like to thank Mark for everything that he's done for the district. He's one of our most dedicated employees. When he works on a project, he's always told me, when I ask him, why are we doing it this way? He's like, because we don't want to ever come back here again. So when he does work on something, we know it's going to live another 35 years, hopefully. I'll call him if it doesn't. But yeah, he's our most dedicated, hardworking employees. Thank you, Mark.
All right, so get your loot. The resolution, I think that's gonna be adopted
Yeah.
or needs to be adopted.
Yeah.
That. There you go.
Wow. Little bigger than that 5-year plan.
What's in the box?
Yeah.
Go watch.
So
So,
there's an actual resolution on the agenda for the board's consideration and vote.
do we need to read the resolution? Do we have a copy? Sorry.
Should be In there.
Resolution 2412. In the packet.
So we have a motion to approve a resolution, the adoption of a resolution number 2412, you said? Recognizing Mark Klein for his 35 years of service. Whereas Mark was hired at Rainbow Municipal Water District as a preventive maintenance technician 1 on September 21st, 1989. He earned his grade 1 and grade 2 water distribution operators certifications. Has demonstrated unwavering commitment to and expertise in the field of electronics, instrumentation, and SCADA controls in the service to our ratepayers. Whereas Mark's dedication keeps our systems running seamlessly. His expertise in safeguards the heart of our infrastructure. And whereas Mark's legacy will be seen in our SCADA for a long time, his vigilance and skill ensure that our operations thrive. Whereas the Board of Directors of the Rainbow Municipal Water District wishes to recognize Mark Klein for his 35 years of service to the district. It is therefore and hereby resolved, determined, and ordered that the Board of Directors, on behalf of the ratepayers of Rainbow Municipal Water District, hereby commends Mark and thanks him for his dedicated service. There's a motion to approve this by the board president. Is there a second? Second by Director Dale. Oh, what's her face over there? Is this a roll call vote? No. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Mark, thank you very much for your service. We hope to get a couple more years out of you too.
Beach. That's not.
So it's on the record.
I must say that working with Ed, pretty badass.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you very much. Yep.
That was nice. Employees.
It's nice to see what the important part of the meeting was. Okay, item number 8, committee meeting summaries. No committees met in September, so the summary is nil.
We have a short update even though the communications committee didn't meet on just some short things to share, if you
Okay,
would like to hear it.
Yes.
absolutely.
Thank you. Good afternoon, members of the board and Rainbow Water staff. We did not meet this past month. However, we did have some key events that we wanted to share with you.
Here.
Okay, our first big event that we had was the opening of Thoroughbred Lift Station. There was a ribbon cutting on September 4th, and we had a great turnout from Supervisor Desmond's office. The superintendent from Bonsall Unified School District was there. All of our project partners were in attendance, our board, committee members, as well as we had a great support staff from our team here. It was the 8th lift station, and the multi-year capital improvement project was finally complete. And it will provide greater emergency and resiliency and operational flexibility for our customers. And staff attended a field trip to Padre Dam on September 5th, just a day after the ribbon cutting, where they toured the water recycling facility that treats 16 million gallons of water per day. This project, as of late July, roughly 42,000 cubic yards of concrete has been poured to advance the water purification system. This photo here was taken at the beginning of August. We'll show you the progress on that site. And then our next event we have is scheduled for Saturday, October 12th. We're going to be joining our fellow agencies from Fallbrook Land and Conservancy, Bonsall Chamber, Mission Resource Conservation District to hold this community event where families are encouraged to come attend, learn a little bit more about our emergency services, receive some quick CPR training, as well as be able to tour up close the emergency vehicle from fire, sheriffs, and then a helicopter will also be there. Our staff will be at that event handing out promotional items and speaking with our customers. And lastly, the September newsletter. We have a few articles in here about the history of Rainbow. Most importantly, the naming of our community. While it was not actually named after a rainbow, it was named after one of the first farmers to export a carload of fruit from our area in San Diego County. Then we talked a little bit about our pressure reducing valves, why we have them, why you need them, and who's ultimately responsible. And that links up to our website to give a little bit more information and background. A brief article about our sewer and lift station project, which was also featured in the Village News, and we got a front page article there, and a feature of our very own Malatamimi cutting the ribbon, the North Carolina fire event we have on there, and then an emergency preparedness month tip about the importance of the Watch Duty app and downloading that, not just for emergencies, just for you to know a little bit more about wind conditions, when to evacuate. So we thought we'd share that since our team uses it regularly. We thought our customers would really enjoy that information. So the committee will reconvene on Tuesday, October 15th. Yes, Julie?
I would like to commend you and the team for the newsletter. Great quality and writing and photos for the community to be aware of what's happening. So thank you.
Thank you.
And I was blown away with the rainbow one. It was like, where the heck did she find this
Yeah.
information?
Yeah, amazing.
I thought it was fascinating.
Yeah.
Because most people.
So I've lived here for 30 in the district for 30 years, and I just assumed rainbow was a name that was picked out of the hat, you know?
It was a great piece of historical knowledge to share with our
Uh-huh.
community.
That was fun.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Item number 9, consent calendar, approval of the August 27th, 2024 regular board meeting minutes, approval of the September 17th special board meeting minutes, and notice of completion and acceptance of minor facility constructed by customers.
Also,
Is there any discussion?
No,
If not, is there a motion?
also move.
Moved by Director Mack, seconded by
Johnson.
Director Johnson. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item number 10, action items. A, consider a request for additional funding for the transfer of infrastructure fee assets from the San Diego County Water Authority.
Yes, and this is something we've been talking about for a while. And we've been working with County Water Authority staff for the past, I don't know, 8-9 months, at least on the transfer of these assets. And really, this is all related to the connections that are associated with the metropolitan aqueducts. We have 4 that currently serve Rainbow off of the MWD aqueducts, and that's Rainbow 1, Rainbow 10, Rainbow 8, and Rainbow 9. So those four, and those will continue to serve Rainbow, but currently owned by the Water Authority, owned and operated by the Water Authority. So so as part of the settlement agreement that we reached back last December, we agreed that we would those would be valued and Rainbow would purchase those assets from the County Water Authority. So that is the item that's in front of you today. Just to give you a little background on you know, kind of how the process went. The County Water Authority hired an appraiser. It was, you know, it's kind of a unique asset. There's not a lot of these built, you know, there hasn't been one built in a little while. And so a bit of a unique asset. So they hired a kind of an outside firm, a third party to do the valuation. And they used the most recent facility that was constructed, which was a turnout for, I think it was Vista and Vallecito's, a facility that was built 5 or 6 years ago. But that's really the only one that's been built in quite some time. So it was based on an existing facility, obviously took into account, you know, these facilities are aged. So there was a pretty heavy depreciation because these are very, if you're going to build a brand new one of these, a new facility, they're very expensive. Yeah, they end up being very costly. And so, but these are mostly depreciated. One of the sites, not fully, because it was built a little bit later than the other three, and that's Rainbow 10. During the course of this, obviously, you know, I was heavily involved and reviewed the valuation. Originally, we did get a valuation of almost nearly $1 million for the 4 facilities, but found an error in the valuation, which dropped it by about $370,000, which brings it to the current cost of 610 or 612, I think is the number on just the facilities acquisition. So that's how we got there. We also took the step of we hired just a third party to do another appraiser that does this kind of work, just to do a cursory review. Hey, does this, because again, it was very unique. And so, you know, I can look at values and things like that, but there was some really, I'd say, appraiser specific kind of actions that were in there, and just wanted to due diligence, make sure. And they came back and really not a lot of concerns. Yeah, this is what you have to work with. And life of the facilities seemed reasonable, and you know, all the things that they use. So we ended up at this number. Originally we had budgeted, this was in the CIP, we had budgeted $500,000 for those assets. So the valuation came back a little higher than that. And since then, a couple other things that are related to that basically we're putting under this project of, you know, this asset transfer. One being, you know, with us taking control of a couple of these facilities, we've got to install just some minor equipment and obviously get it into our SCADA. So some programming efforts. And so there's, I think, a $25,000 line item to do that at all 4 facilities. So not tremendously expensive, but everything's times 4, right? Because we have 4 of them. The other one was Metropolitan. So ultimately, 2 of the meters are owned by the Water Authority. So we're acquiring those, but they need to be transferred to either Met or Eastern. One of them needs to take ownership of the meter. That's just the way it works. It's not our meter. It would be theirs because we're not a member agency, right? So we're working with Metropolitan right now to develop a long-term metering agreement. And just part of their process is they have to basically do this engineering study to go, okay, how's it going to work? Does it meet our specifications? You know, those kind of things. The way they did it was they kind of have their set processes, and they're looking at it like a new facility, like a new turnout for them, which technically it is for them. We've made the argument that it's not a new facility, and it's going to be operated the same way it's been operated since its existence. But they needed to put this into their program, into their process, get a deposit from us, and that's what it is. It's a deposit. And basically they charge against that deposit as their staff or consultants kind of spend time, evaluating these facilities. And so, so they've already begun that work. Our hope is that, once they get into it, the realization is, oh, these are going to be operated the same way they have, and we're okay. And really a lot of that money doesn't get spent, but we have to get through the process with them. And so, I think our share of that, they're going to do all three. They're doing one site for Fallbrook and then our two sites off of the first aqueduct. The total was like 140,000 deposit. And so we're 2/3 of that. That's the $93,000. So all in all, we kind of lumped that under this single project to get all these activities done. Meaning there's from the $500,000 budget, there's a $250,000 additional funding need to complete everything. And so that's really the request that's before you today. We'd like to increase that capital budget from 500,000 to 750 to complete the acquisition of the facilities and the activities associated with Metropolitan.
I had a comment and a question. I appreciate, since we're going over what we had budgeted for this, that
Yes.
we're going to revisit the budget at
Yeah.
mid-year. That's fantastic. I did have a question about some of the equipment that's remaining in control of the Water Authority, because there was some SCADA equipment, there was a flow control, and another, I think, a valve. And it just makes me wonder, are they still going to be controlling the water flow at
Mhm.
these, or is there a physical disconnection?
Well,
between-
it mostly related to the SCADA. We're taking over maintenance and control. But they asked to still receive the signals. So they'd like to know what flow is coming, because it's a falling grade aqueduct system. And so, they're the end of the pipe. And so, it's important for them to know what's going on upstream. Like,
Okay.
It's County Water Authority.
Hmm.
And so they requested, hey, we would like to keep our SCADA equipment, our signals, and
Does that give them control if they've got it?
No.
It's in their schedule?
no, not necessarily. Not necessarily. We're talking through those things because they actually, and this is a part of the operations plan that we're developing on to address that specifically. Connections 8 and 9, which are on the second aqueduct, operations aren't quite as finicky and complex. That's really where the meat of our work is, right? Where we're actually putting that control in and that kind of thing. For the time being, they actually did request to continue to just operate the valve at connections 1 and 10, because there is potential for downstream impacts to them. And so,
In what way would that be?
well, if it, getting into the details a little bit, if we request, it's a timing issue really for them. As that water starts to come from Metropolitan, they have a timing thing where it's take, where they start taking the water off of that pipeline.
Okay,
And so, at least for the time being, they've requested to just on the first aqueduct. And if the timing isn't done well, apparently there's a potential for, they can spill downstream or under pressurize things. And so that was a big concern for them. And so we've been working with them to kind of accomplish that. But the equipment itself will all transfer, and all maintenance activities and everything else. So basically it would just be a remote, that would just be a remote operation. But at all 4 sites, they did request to keep their own SCADA equipment and the signals, just the signals, so they know what flow is coming.
I can understand their point of view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did too. We did
Yeah.
too.
I have a question, maybe a concern, is as we're going through this detachment, we're planning a budget and things are arising which we're not even aware of. So I guess my concern is that, and my question is, are there any more surprises? Because I know we have worked on our budget And now, as you even put in here, it was unknown during the preparation for this. So that is concerning to me.
Yeah, the
Like,
Metropolitan deposit came as a bit of a surprise to us. I'll
Yeah.
admit that wasn't, they were brought in kind of late in in this whole process. And so yeah, that one was a little bit unknown. I don't foresee any others. I mean, we still, there are things we're working through. I think everything else is pretty well defined as far as I mean, we know what the exit fees are. We know what our costs are. And this is just something we had to estimate. We had no idea really what these facilities would be valued at. So we basically took a guesstimate at what these things were. Yeah, and it turns out it was, one of the facilities was not quite as old as, we figured they would be a little more depreciated, but one of them was legitimately not fully depreciated. So that's,
So my question is, I know when this was starting, the detachment was starting, we were very specific of the costs, expenses, and all that. Is it time to have another conversation just to say within the next 2 months, this is our understanding of what will be expected of Rainbow?
yeah, I think we know what all those things are.
Okay, as long as
that
we
was-
do.
Yeah, that was the approval of
Okay.
basically everything's defined within that settlement agreement. And
I-
so,
I would think for transparency purposes, the public would be really interested in seeing that. Me too.
Would or wouldn't?
Would,
yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
would. I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of interest about the cost
sure.
of
And
of
Yeah,
this.
exactly.
tax-
And-
Question
and
I
we-
have
we
is-
just need to know, what are the costs here?
Mhm.
question I have is these facilities are currently owned by San Diego County Water Authority. We're buying them. Does that ownership eventually transfer to Eastern or Met?
Well,
Are-
only in the case of the meters on the first aqueduct. So that's RB1 and RB10, that those will ultimately either be transferred to, yes, Metropolitan or Eastern. And the ones on the other side are already owned by Metropolitan. Those ones are
Right.
already met meters.
Okay, so it's just a couple of meters, and are we going to be recompensed for that?
I believe not.
So we
I believe
buy them,
not.
but we have to give them away.
Yeah, that was really I mean, with Eastern, part of the original agreement was that we bear the cost of
Okay, that,
the actions
That's
associated with
true.
this. Yeah.
okay, yeah, I remember that. I also remember we didn't think we'd end up having to buy our equipment
Right.
back.
Exactly. That's a concern. It just seems we keep giving and giving, and it's like, okay, enough's enough.
But I think seeing the costs in the context also of the savings that are coming
Yeah,
is
y-
maybe seeing the
no
whole picture
question
would be
about that.
great.
but,
It is. And in
you know,
reality,
my only concern is, we bumped this one by, and granted, it was a swag to start with, but by 50%. And do we have any other mushrooms out there that are growing that we don't know about yet?
Mhm.
I would say the only other one that has an estimate associated with it is the decommissioning of the turnouts that
Yeah.
will no longer be used. And so that's out in the future a ways. That's not going to happen immediately. Because it has to be timed with a shutdown, and there's lots of coordination and things that have to be done with that. So we'll hone that in over time. And we actually provided, there was some flexibility in the agreement that gave us some ability to time that as well, that we could program that into our 5-year CIP. So as we get, as we move down the road on what that, we haven't generally defined what the decommissioning looks like. We actually put that within some detail within the settlement agreement, but obviously then there's some design work and things that have to be done. It's got to be put on paper. And so we'll continue to track the costs on that. Everything else is really defined. I mean, that's, the cost, I mean, the cost of our pump stations, which, you can fully attribute that to detachment or not. I mean, that was a project that was in the works for quite some time. Obviously detachment pushed it forward quickly, but
But those pump stations, you could also argue are partially there for
Mhm.
system reliability.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's why they were talked about many years ago, not just as part of this. Yeah.
Regarding this money and regarding the additional funding transfer, what line item are we taking this from?
Well, this will be part of it'll be added to the capital program. So, and please correct me, Rick can correct me if I'm wrong, but we kind of talked through this. It'll be added to the capital program. We did have a whole set of projects
Mhm,
that,
right.
that we had budgeted for. And so the idea is, yeah, this will be fully funded, and then we'll be coming back to look at either
Just,
projects that haven't moved forward or potentially deferring some other project to cover the cost. That's and we'll come back mid-year budget and do that.
That's just my,
So we're-
concern. We
we're
keep
not-
ditching, we just keep taking away.
Yeah.
All right.
eating into your capital improvements. Yeah.
I have a question. You've mentioned several times that on the valves that either Met or Eastern's gonna take control. What is the deciding factor? Who takes control?
Well, it's kind of up to them. I mean, I think ultimately probably be Met. They'll likely be Met meters. But there are situations where a member agency will own the meter. And so it really kind of comes down to as we work through this metering agreement, how that shakes out. I think our anticipation is that it'll be transferred to Met.
And when that does, then if there is maintenance or replacement costs, is that on us or is that? on
No,
them?
then at that point it would be on Met.
Okay,
The calibration and all those kind of things, because it's their cash register is what it is. And so they become responsible for that.
The only rub is we buy them and give them.
yeah, that doesn't seem right.
Any further discussion? Is there a motion? Nobody wants to make it. I move we adopt the motion one, option
No one
one.
wants to do this. No.
Is there a
I'll
second?
second.
Moved by Director Hamilton, seconded by Director Mack. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Me,
One abstention,
myself. Johnson.
two abstentions. Motion passes 3-0. With two abstentions. I can't say that word.
Thank you.
Action item B, 10B, discussion and possible action regarding the appointment and employment evaluation of performance and compensation of the general manager, Jacob Wiley.
Yes. So the general manager's employment anniversary, I believe, is
Tomorrow.
tomorrow. And for 1 year. So congratulations. Thank you. His contract includes a provision for a cost of living adjustment of a maximum of 3% based on the San Diego County CPI. So CPI is currently above 3%. So the action item for the board is to consider what was previously contracted as his cost of living adjustment effective on his employment anniversary date.
I so move. Second.
You don't want to have any discussion?
There is a requirement that you
Yeah.
read aloud. I believe you have a script under the California law that you have to read aloud what the changes are in order to be
Is that-
compliant.
Prior to accepting or post acceptance of a motion to approve?
I
it?
believe it's before it's voted upon. Is that correct, Alfred?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
So the motion, I think, has to be read aloud.
all righty. Then, according to the general manager's existing contract terms, I move to approve a 3% cost of living adjustment, bringing annual salary to $262,685.24, beginning September 25th, 2024. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved by Director Hamilton, seconded by Director Townsend Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
I
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Crop swap update,
This is me. Can I get
the clicker?
I figured it was, we'd kind of given some updates, but wanted to go a little deeper on really what's turned out to be over the first just several months of this program. I'd say overwhelming success. And I think it speaks to the willingness of our agricultural customers to reinvest, and especially when they get some help to do it. And so to bring this program to those customers, I think I don't know, it just continues to really, I think it's still building momentum. And my biggest concern is we're going to run out of grant funding. And so that's a high quality problem. But I think one we're going to continue to address as well. So again, this program started just in April, or really May. Last part of April, we kicked it off and started accepting applications. It's a regional program funded through a $5 million grant from the Department of Water Resources. And it really, three incentive project types, one being a crop conversion or enhancement. So somebody wants to convert from a high use water use crop to a lower water use crop. There's some significant incentives to do that. And also, some enhancements, which is like avocado rootstock upgrade. So if somebody has an avocado grove, they want to continue growing avocados, but maybe their grove is old and needs an update. Then they get incentivized again to do those activities. And there's water savings associated with there for multiple years, and then obviously very good for our growers as well. Also funds irrigation efficiency improvements, weather-based controllers and soil moisture sensors. And so all kinds of different projects that promote irrigation efficiency, which again, saves water. So really helping the kind of the global good as we're, issues on the Colorado and all those kind of things. We definitely want to incentivize those kind of activities, but also for them to, be more profitable. Allow them to be more profitable. So those are really good programs too. And other BMPs, best management practices, things like ground cover and anything that kind of traps moisture. Again, sustainability and efficiency is really the program is geared to fund those kind of activities for all of our ag customers, who are all eligible. So anybody who's got an active agricultural property is eligible. So to date, we've had 60 individual project applications submitted by our ag customers, and the 45 of those projects have been approved. We've only had one project that was not approved, so basically just didn't meet the terms of the grant guidelines, and it was a very small, I think it was one of the, like a BMP project, but just didn't fit the grant guidelines. So a high level of acceptance too, as far as, and that's what I love about this program. It's really not, there's not a lot of red tape associated with it, right? The projects are the projects, and, fairly easy. Well, there's labor intensive, but easy to implement and easy to get approved. So again, we've had 45 out of 46 projects approved, and 14 are in pre-inspection, which just means the application actually looks good, but there's a site inspection that happens that before they get the formal approval to basically reserve that grant funding for them and allow them to do their project. Total funding to date. So of the 40, these are just the 45 projects. We're up to almost $600,000. So that's $600,000 in grant funding that's going to 45 of our ag accounts to help them with these kind of activities. And really the remaining 14, the majority of those are along, I'll show you the breakdown of the different project types, but they're along the same lines of the crop conversion or crop enhancements, which tend to be the highest value. Those are the highest incentivized projects. And so I think that number is going to continue to grow. Again, being able to reinvest in our ag customers. Here's the total applications by type. You can see, over a third are the avocado rootstock upgrades. So really a lot of grove owners that are committed to growing avocados. That's what we're seeing, committed to growing avocados and want to continue to do so. And so we've seen a large number of those. Some crop conversions, so 11 crop conversions. So those two categories, which really are the highest incentivized type, that's more than half of the total applications. Avocado rejuvenation, that's basically just stumping. So stumping and rejuvenating their existing grove, that's also incentivized as part of the program. And then there's kind of the rest, the sensors, the mulching, the things we talked about, scheduling automation, nutrient management, things like that.
What is cover crops?
I think that's so crops that are grown underneath
Underneath them.
to help hold in moisture. It's almost like
Okay.
mulching, but with a cover crop.
Okay, thank you.
And so there is some incentives for that. And did you have the map, Therese? Copies of the map? Okay, I don't think so. That's okay. That's okay. We did do a kind of a map of where all the projects were. Nothing very specific. It doesn't hone in on the properties or whatever, but just wanted to get kind of an overview of where a good portion of these projects are happening within our district. Good news is there's projects in every single division. So every single division across the district has projects. Go ahead.
No, I don't want to interrupt you, but what I'd like to see, I
interrupting.
I know. I apologize.
Quite all right. Quite all right.
Is it possible? I think this might be because Aqua always has awards always at their thing, and I'm thinking two different things. I can't ever remember 5 agencies working together.
Yeah.
It's usually one. So that's unique 5. And I'd even like to even go further than that. I'd like to see if we can, get all of them and we'll put in for award. I think that would be unique right up. But I also would like to see, and again, it's more work on you guys. I apologize. But I like the PR. There's classes that they have at Aqua. I think this would be a phenomenal class to let people know.
Breakout session type
Yeah.
of thing,
Yeah.
how to organize and put it together.
Yeah, and just show like you this slide of the breakdown on what different things you can do. I think that'd be really informative. Might give other agencies start thinking, hey, why not us do that?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there is a desire. I mean, it's been successful. This was something that started by Rancho. Rancho got some initial grant funding several years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, maybe. And obviously it was just a single agency kind of program, and it evolved over time as far as what was allowed. And so this is kind of an evolution of what this, but I mean, I think for and obviously appreciate the partnership with Rancho, seeing that, this is a problem that's not just specific to them, but we need investment across this whole region. And so opening that up for us. And I think you've kind of hit the sweet spot with some of the agencies down here, that there was quite an appetite for reinvestment. So I couldn't agree
But
with
from
you
an
more.
educational standpoint, it shows how you can do interagency cooperation to address an area need as opposed to just a district need.
Right.
So I mean, I hate to give you guys more work, but is it possible to find something?
We'll just tell Rancho to do it.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I don't know why you couldn't get,
We'll help.
give Valley Center and
Yes.
some of the other.
Yeah, and I didn't put the other stats in for like the other agencies and that kind of thing, but we kind of jumped out of the gate really fast. I think we had done a lot of upfront messaging, but the other agencies it's really taking hold there too. Valley Center, Fallbrook, they're starting to get some significant grant funding out too.
Cause see what I'm thinking, if you're able to do one of those breakout sessions, it'd be so cool if like
Yeah.
Rancho would start the session out and tell everybody we've reached out, and then they gave their overview, then someone like you would then give them, this is what we're doing at Rainbow, and then you do this slide. I think it really opened, I mean, that's really informational and
Yeah.
agencies work together. I think that's very unique. I haven't seen anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and these things are, you know, working these regional kind of programs, very favorable for grant funding too. When you have multiple agencies all participating in a project, very, very favorable. So I think that was,
So can you do that?
yeah, we'll jump on it.
No, I'm
Yeah,
serious.
no, I hear you. I hear you.
Because
I agree.
it was
I agree.
about a year ago, Robert gave a class. And it was what was it? I was in your class.
Leadership.
Leadership. And the funny thing was, this little quick story was, his class was full. And Tom had a class too, and he had like 6 people in.
Yeah.
And we were at both.
Yeah. And
And they were all Rainbow employees.
and Roberts had the interaction with different agencies. They had different ideas, and they really like were eating up
Mhm,
what
yeah.
his thought process was. And I, you
So
know,
you're telling me Robert should give the presentation.
whoa. But I like it because it gets our name out. Because I'm tired of hearing about this irrigation. I want Rainbow to get some more recognition. That's
More-
what-
More news stories about Rainbow.
yeah. Well, good ones.
Recognized as an innovative
Yes,
agency.
yeah. And this has been really good. So, and the collaboration on it's been tremendous. The administration of the program's been tremendous. So it's, really, really good start. And I think we are all looking at it as this is kind of just the beginning of,
Mhm.
we'd like to obtain some more grant funding, continue to push the program, push it out further, anybody really who can use it. And so I think, all those things that would help. I imagine too, getting word out in that way. So
How labor intensive would it be in Division 1 to categorize what they're doing in Division 1?
We-
Because there's a large percent in
yeah,
Division 1.
we have all that. And that's kind of why I wanted to do the map, just to get a feel for where all this was happening. It's nice that it's, that there are projects all throughout.
Julie would like a list of all the people in her division.
We tried to avoid individualizing it. But we do,
It's just, I'm curious.
but there are,
There's
there-
wine, being raised, there's avocados, just to be curious, what are they doing?
yeah, we can give you some stats on that. I think it very much trends like towards the overall numbers. There was a lot of avocado. There were some crop conversions down there that I
Yeah.
know, but we could come up, we give you the numbers without giving you the,
Yeah, no, I don't need to know the names. I just
Right.
need to know the number of the breakdown.
but that's what really popped in this was a lot in Division 1, which has historically been a fantastic place to grow avocados.
Mhm.
So I'm told by some experts that one of the highest producing zip codes in the entire state of California is that 92008. That zip code has consistently been so
92003.
92003. Is it 3? Okay, sorry. 92003. But the south end of our district really being an ideal climate and spot for growing avocados. And I think that's why you're seeing those numbers.
Mhm.
That's kind of some of the feedback we got too as we were rolling out the program. We talked to some of our local, packing houses and kind of what they were seeing in the area and how we could, try to promote this program best. And that was at least some of the feedback that we got. I know there's a lot of pressures on agriculture and, not just from water costs, but imports and labor costs and, all the things that we're hearing about. But there was still a thought that in very productive areas, with some rejuvenation, right? Young crop, young trees, those kind of things that, still the opportunity to be profitable. And so I think that's what we're seeing. I think that's what we're seeing, that's the belief of at least quite a few of our growers. And again, long term, I think it's a positive for Rainbow too, which is why, we love to offer these things. So I think that's about all I have. Yes. So
I have a question.
sure.
Do we know how much of the $5 million grant has been taken up by all of the agencies that are?
I do have that
participating?
number. Off the top of my head, it was less than 2 million, but it was like more than 1.5. It was like 1.6
1.8
to 1.8,
Yeah.
somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
So we're about a third out of the 6 agencies. We're about a third of that funding. Yeah, and 5 million in total. Part of that goes towards the administration of the program. But all in total, I think there's 4.25 million available right now for across all the agencies. And so
This,
Yeah.
that used to be.
We're just looking at the crops.
yeah,
Mhm.
so that's the update for today, and
Good.
we'll keep doing that. And every so often, maybe every 3 months or 3-4 months, we'll dive a little deeper in kind of what the numbers are doing. And
Jake, will it require a new grant to increase the funds?
new grant, well, potentially, possibly. I mean, I guess DW.
DWR, and they're gonna have to reallocate, which will probably make it a new grant.
Yeah, likely.
Is it local or state or federal?
The current grant is state, but I think we would be open to any. I know
Anybody.
the USBR has funded
Mhm.
crop swap before. So I think there's other opportunities too.
And you're much more likely to get federal funding in the near future than you would
State.
state funding. But it's possible. There are
Yeah.
existing funding for that. At least to try and apply.
Is there funding out of Department of Agriculture? USDA?
I haven't seen these kind of programs. I know there's funding, well, the crop conversion, that kind of piece. I know there is funding, and we do participate in a lot of these things. I know Mission Resources Conservation District, they have like $800,000 for some similar type things, irrigation efficiencies and that I believe comes through USDA. And so we promote, and we're promoting that too. But those seem to be they have been a little more onerous as far as application process and actually getting projects off the ground. That's kind of been the struggle, I think, on some of those programs. And I think a lot of our ag customers have taken advantage of some of those
Mhm.
types of things. But this is kind of new for.
Is the
for us.
Farm Bureau involved in this and supporting it?
I know it's been, it's definitely been talked about at the farm, all kind of all the
Probably
local.
promoted through the Bureau.
Yeah. Yeah, AGC. We actually sent our site inspector is really kind of
Mhm.
clued in with the groups, and I know he did a little tour.
Good.
And I've been to the AGC
Mhm.
and some of these others that that at least have some of
Yeah.
they have some ratepayers in our customers in our district. So yeah, I think it's pretty widely known
Good.
among in the industry. Of course, we continue to promote it. It's in our newsletter just about
Mhm.
every month, the different types of projects and things like that. And
Have we done any legislative outreach in terms of federal level, at the federal level?
well, USBR is very aware of the program, so I
I was
think
thinking, the elected representatives. Because they can also apply pressure on
Sure.
those agencies to.
Sure, yeah, it helps to have friends
Since they control the
Mhm.
purse strings.
in
for the
in
milk.
support of your projects, and most of our local representation is very well aware of the crop swap program. They've been hearing about it for years, and now that it's regional,
Yeah.
I think it's pretty well known.
Well, that's
Okay.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Great.
Don't assume.
We'll make sure. Yeah, and I think as we make an attempt to get some additional funding, obviously those kind of support letters and
Mm.
things like that go a long way. So we'll be doing that. Okay. Crop swap.
Any other discussion on the crop swap update? Informational items, operations report, engineering report, administrative services report, and finance report. Does anyone want to step up and actually?
I do have information. We've, since I wrote the staff report, we got our results from our annual employee survey. So I have a presentation that shouldn't take too long. It'll cue it up for me.
Oh,
Arlene, do you have an idea how long your presentation's gonna be?
Not very long.
I'll just wait till you're done.
Yeah.
Just-
So we launch the survey every year, pretty much right after our August board meeting. And the deadline is early September. So it was right around the time we wrote our staff reports. We had a 78% response rate from our workforce, which is just a tad lower, probably one person lower than last year's response rate of 81%. But that's still very good. Our goal is to have above 70. So we met that goal. And so we have some high level information here about the overall responses. And this is 43 out of 55 employees responding.
Curling, the 78% was the overall response rate
Yeah.
for all participants.
For-
Okay.
Yeah, so we invited 55 employees to participate and 43 responded. So we have a culture cloud. One of the questions on the survey is kind of an open-ended one, not a rate this, statement one. Yes.
I'm sorry. Going back to the respondent, was there any department that had a low response?
Well, we had operations had a lower than typical response. Their response rate was like 61%, and normally they're kind of more similar to the rest of the district. But we had several departments that had 100% response rate, and actually most had 100% response rate.
All right, thank you.
But we still had enough in operations to be able to get the department level results, and they were very overwhelmingly positive. Yeah. So we get a culture cloud every year. This is these are words that employees use in response to the question, how would you describe the culture at Rainbow? And they're given 3 words. So there are 3 blanks where they can enter a word or they can skip the question. So this is our culture cloud for this year. If there had been any words used by employees that the survey determines is disengaged or generally not happy, those words would still be there, but they would be in red. We have some gray words, which are considered a little bit by more neutral employees, and the green words were used by highly engaged employees. And this is the second time out of the 4 years we've used this particular survey that all 5 of our core values were mentioned in response to this question. So those are the ones highlighted in blue there. So that's just kind of a cool little tidbit that happened 2 years ago as well. So our overall workplace experience score, which is essentially the average of every single question in the survey all put together, is 88%, which is 8 points above the benchmark of other local government agencies, 22 local government agencies between 20 and 120 employees across the country. And we're up 4% from our own results from last year as well. So that's great news. And then we have some high level results to share related to the 6 themes that the survey explores, which is alignment and belief in the direction, values, and meaning, be feeling empowered to execute, and able to grow, being fully engaged in terms of giving maximum discretionary effort, feeling valued, and that has to do with their pay, benefits, and work-life balance, and then feeling respected and supported through inclusion and appreciation. So the top graph there is our percent favorable. So of all of the questions asked, 88% of the responses were favorable in some way. So that means either they said slightly agree, or strongly agree. So that's really good. And then the heat map is the color coded one for this is overall all questions combined. You can kind of see the darkest green with the lines is the strongly agree. The regular green is the agree, and the light green is the slightly agree. So overwhelmingly positive responses overall. And then in terms of the average score, so this is not just whether it was some kind of positive or some kind of negative, but the actual rating, our average score was 4.95 on a scale of 1 to 6. So that's really good. And you could see this is the same score for us, but comparing us to the local government agencies of similar size, we're 6% ahead. And compared to the national benchmark, we're 30% ahead.
Wow.
So that there's a lot of disengaged employers out there apparently nationally. So this is a kind of fun graph because we can see how our survey results have changed over the years. So 2021 was the first year that we did this that we used this outside source for the survey. So that's why that year is a 0. That's kind of our benchmark year. And then every year since then has been higher than in 2021. Last year we had a small little dip and we bounced right back up this year. It is kind of scary when you see some of the questions come back with like 100% positive and stuff, because it's really hard to sustain for more than 1 year in a row. But it's nice to see it on the years that it happens. So as with any survey, we have a top 3 and a bottom 3. So in relative to our benchmark agencies, that's the other local government agencies of a similar size that participated in the same survey. This is compared to those agencies. So we're way ahead in terms of employees feeling well informed, work-life balance, feeling like pay is fair for the work that they do. And then the areas that we were lower than the benchmark was feeling like their benefits packages is fair compared to others, which I found fascinating because nothing actually changed from year to year. In fact, we upgraded our vision plan. So I found it interesting that there's a perception change there, and that you can see that in some of the other category scores as well. Meaningfulness and growth. I'm a little bit confused, and I have to ask the survey vendor. Those are our bottom 3, but it still says plus. So maybe it's saying our bottom 3 were still higher than the benchmark. That's how I'm interpreting it, but I have to confirm with the vendor if that's what those green plus numbers actually mean. That'd be great if our bottom 3 are still higher than the benchmark. And then these are the biggest movers. So these are the statements that isn't compared to the benchmark, is compared to us last year. So the 3 that improved the most was execution, employees feeling like we do things efficiently and well, interdepartmental cooperation, loyalty, which is asking employees whether they've considered looking for another job in the past month. That's improved. Inclusion has improved, and their perceptions about their pay being fair for the work that's done. The ones that went down the most was meetings, feeling like meetings are a good use of my time. This is a recurring theme that we've seen pop up over the past 4 years. Some years it's there, some years it's not, but it's definitely not the first time we've seen that question, a concern in that area. I think that's probably pretty common across organizations as well. Again, the benefits question, feel enabled to work at full potential. Yes.
They go into details on the meeting. They think it's not productive, it's not informational.
So we have like 120 different comments, and they don't always pertain to a specific question. They give the employee the opportunity. If someone answers in an extreme way, then they'll give the opportunity to, tell us more, tell us why you answer that question that way. But they're not required to fill it out. So not everyone takes the time to leave. I don't know whether we have any specific comments related to the meeting questions, but that's something that when we have department level results for some of our departments, the ones that are big enough to have at least 5 people responding. So we have follow-up meetings with those departments, and we try to probe a little bit more and get suggestions on and get insight into, okay, how could we do that better, and actually ask our employees for recommendations. And that's part of how we've made improvements in previous years, is we take their suggestions seriously.
I have a question relative to the percentiles, because if you have a low number of, a low sample rate, one deviation can knock you off 11 or 6%.
Yeah, so this is all organization wide. But you're right that, you know, that,
Standard
that,
deviation.
that, you know, 10 points lower than last year is, could be 5 employees that rated it, you know, from strongly agree to agree, and that's still a decrease. And some of these, even though it's a decrease from last year, it's still a high score. It's
Yeah.
just not as high as it was last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that context is important. And so the top half of that is the percent favorable responses, and then the bottom half is based on the actual raw score of the responses. So these slides, this is the level of detail the board doesn't need. So this is the 6 themes. Feeling respected and supported, closely aligned, engaged, and able to grow, empowered to execute, and fairly valued. I think this heat map graph is pretty interesting to be able to really quickly see where the general sentiment is related to those themes. Yes.
Colleen, this is very detailed, greatly appreciated. Could you send it to us so we can use, look at it on our computers?
Sure. Yeah. I
Thank
don't
you.
see.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I need.
No.
Okay. Okay.
Send it to Julie.
Okay,
Or
that's
you
fine.
want it? Send it to Julie.
And then this again shows us the year over year change related to the specific 6 themes. So, so this feeling respected and supported went up the most from last year. It's always been one of our highest, but it's dramatic increase there. Engagement, empowerment, feeling aligned, valued, and able to grow. So overall, all very positive.
Just as a general trend, you've presented this chart or variations of this chart a couple of times, and what I notice is high, low, high. I mean, it's not a big percentage, but what caused the dip in the second sampling?
Are you talking about in the July 2020 or the last year's survey?
July 2023. I mean, if you
Yeah,
look,
last year's
up, down, up.
So to be honest, it was launched the day after the general manager appointment was made, and we had a lot of staff rooting for an internal candidate.
Okay. Good point. Okay.
But actually,
That does have an influence.
and he didn't start for a month, and I think it was just the big unknown.
Yeah.
The big,
Absolutely.
the
yeah.
big unknown.
No,
And I think you see from this year's responses that our employees are
Back-
pretty happy
back on
with
track.
the way things are. Yeah, pretty happy. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that,
It's
you
all
you look
my
at that in
fault.
general. Yeah. You look at it in general and go, well, how come it dropped and then went back up? And, but that little
Yeah.
factor is important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And back in
Good.
2021, just to give you, for those of you who weren't on the board at the time, our very first employee survey was in 2018. We knew it wasn't going to be great. It was through a different third-party consultant. We did a lot of work with an internal employee action team. We implemented a lot of changes. We had some staff changes in key positions that influenced the results. We did it again in 2020, the exact same one with the same outside consultant, and more than 20 focus areas, which were areas that we considered to be deficient. They were like in the 60s percentile range, 60 to 70. We wanted them all to be over 80. Improved by more than 20 points. So that tells you we had 20 points that needed to be improved in those areas. So that was in 2018 and 2020. 2021 was the first time that we used this vendor, and it was still during the height of COVID, and there was a lot of stress, turmoil, questions about, restrictions and things like that. So that was our baseline year for this survey, was after a lot of that work had been done. And then I just thought this was just one last interesting tidbit. There is a difference in tenure and the overall responses. Still good for all of the categories, but there's a noticeable difference. Employees who've been with the district less than 3 years and employees who've been with the district you know, more than 5 years. We don't have a lot in that 3 to 5 year range. That's why that's not called out. They probably didn't have enough to report on it. But so one of the challenges we have is how to keep that level of engagement past the honeymoon phase. So overall, very good. That's the high level overview that I wanted to share.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other operational reports?
Few items of update on the finance. Well, I think. On the finance side, something not in the report, but some good news. Our system water demands for September are up, so we're about 29% more than we were at the same point in the month last year. Fiscal year to date, we're about 15% more than they were same time last year.
And it's been hot.
So on the same track, I would expect water sales something in the 11,000, 12,000, maybe a little bit more if it stays really, really dry all winter long. But just to give a sense of where we might end up in this trajectory, which is good news. The big headline of the last couple of weeks is the Federal Reserve lowered the short-term interest rate 0.5%, which will have a direct and immediate impact on our investments. The highest investment rates are still on the very short end of the curve, which is where we're investing. So we're going from an average of maybe 5.3, 5.5% in interest earnings to high 4s, low 5s. So is what I would expect. I noted in the report that we got our new CalPERS actuarial report. So some highlights out of that. Essentially, we're about unchanged on our funded status. So we were about 72% the year prior, and we're just a little bit less than that, few percentage points this year. That doesn't take into consideration the high investment earnings that CalPERS earned this last year at over 9%. So for us, that above assumed interest that they earned is roughly 780,000 in additional investment earnings that they didn't plan on, which sounds like a lot of money, but they spread it over 20 years worth of benefit. So we won't see our annual payments go down for about 4 or 5 years in any meaningful way. And at that level, it's about 87,000 is what actually is the annual reduction that we see on a year-to-year basis. That only helps against the overall increasing trend of our payments. So as an example, last year, what were we at? Like 670,000 was our annual payment. This year it's 830,000. Next year it's 960,000. Within 5 years, it's 1.2 million. And so our budgeted additional payment, we talked about this during the budget, will help bring those numbers down as we continue to sort of chip away at the credit card balance, so to speak. But just to give you a sense of where the trend is, it stays relatively level at about 1.2 million on the current payment trend. You'll notice in the treasurer's report, our unrestricted cash, so this is the real cash reserves balance, 9.2 million. I expect it probably this next month in the mid-9s. So we're staying right about there. Just pay attention to that because we have a 3.2 million exit fee payment coming up amongst some other things. So we'll get lower before we get better. So don't be too scared. It's all part of the plan. We
Don't
took out we took out the $10 million loan in May. We're down to 5.9 of that to give some sense of the projects are ongoing, so they're spending that down pretty quickly. Next finance committee next month, and then the board meeting, you'll see hopefully the good results and a recommendation for a grant consultant. So that's coming up. We got those proposals in this month. Something we haven't talked about before is there may be an option to finance the exit fee remaining payment of 12 million at even more favorable than our settlement agreement terms through a loophole. So that may be coming up shortly if we can do that. And that's it for financial.
When will you be discussing what you just talked about? Is that in Budget and Finance, the committee?
I don't know that I'll have enough other than as a general update for Budget and Finance in October. Certainly November would be the most detailed one, but I'll have a update in general touching.
Can you? When you said loophole, what, can you get a
I
little
knew you
depth?
were gonna ask that. I was gonna ask it, but I knew you.
So traditionally, when we talk about tax exempt financing, which is the favorable interest rate, it has to be for a capital project. The exit fee is not a capital project, which is why we've not considered that and looked at other options. The loophole is that the IRS allows for sort of an extreme emergency. They call it working capital. But the idea that they intend is something like if you have a major disaster or otherwise where you need to spend a lot of just normal funds to help sort of protect or repair your system, then if you meet some certain tests, you can do that under a tax exempt provision. Because this relates to a legal settlement, obviously it relates to future benefit for the district. Bond counsel has said they think this qualifies. So we have to look at some other gyrations to make this work, but so far the legal team have said they think it works.
Rick, I want to give you a call. I've been here for 8 years and we haven't had anybody like you.
Yeah.
I am amazed that how your mind thinks and you're nonstop of finding ways to save money and make money. I'm like, greatly appreciate it.
Yeah.
We've had nobody like
Yeah, that's for
thank
sure.
you.
I also wanted to say great job on the interest revenue because I saw it was $50,000 over what we earned last year. And congratulations on the GFOA award. I think it'd be great to see that at the board level so that you and your team get recognition for that. So kudos on that.
Any other comments?
I had a couple comments on other things on Carlene's report. Just wondering about the customer calls and the hold time and if we had a goal for that.
I
For
think that's
the
actually
whole
a
time.
Rick question.
There's-
and
Oh,
it's a
for
report-
Rick, sorry.
It's reported at the communications committee meeting typically,
Right.
but customer service is under Rick.
Under 30 seconds, I think we're trying to get down to about 20 or so as a stretch goal. And what are we at now?
I just saw there was an outlier and I went, oh, okay, it must have been a busy day. It looked like call volume was up for the month too.
Yes, well,
Yeah,
call volume relating to rates and other sort of
Gotcha.
changes.
Okay,
It
that's what it was.
picks
Alright.
up, especially right now. People don't trust their meter reads because they're getting larger bills from actually using the irrigation system.
Yeah,
So we get a lot of calls about, are you sure that's the right amount? And so.
yeah.
But at the same time, while that call volume's up, your call wait time and your average talk times have changed. Or actually, average hold time has gone down.
Yeah, no, previously we were really
Or
shooting,
maximum hold time.
yeah.
The average hold time is just basically just clicking along.
yeah,
Mhm.
the shot was under a minute. I think now
Yeah.
we're aiming a little, aiming a little
Maybe.
lower, but, and I think we've hit that on sub 30
Yeah.
a couple of times. But really the main goal is, sub 1 minute. That's been kind of the goal, but they seem to be hitting that very, very consistently.
So I recall during the pandemic having to call Tom to get in touch with somebody. So from my perspective, it's a huge improvement.
It had been consistently at about in the ballpark of between 90 seconds and 2 minutes for years up until our current customer service team got in
Mhm.
place. Josh just became supervisor. Like in April, we hired, 2 new CSRs, like turned over the entire team. And the brand new hires got it down to 30 seconds
That's great.
within their first month. So,
Awesome.
and they've kept it there.
Is there one day that you're finding the call time, wait time, is impacting the overall data performance?
3 days after each billing cycle.
No, like sometimes on Friday, there may be one person there. I was just curious if you're seeing any trends there.
Yeah, the only trends we tend to see are relating to when people get funding in, when we do the shut off notices, and then close to to when we bill.
billing.
Okay, thank you, Rick.
One of the things too, and we talked about this at the committee meeting, was they started tracking types of calls, right?
Mhm.
And so, yeah, so we kind of continue to
Refine the
refine.
statistics.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And
Yeah.
so in the next couple of months, I think we just started
Yeah,
that.
so we just
last
started a couple months ago,
Yeah.
and October will be the first communications committee meeting where we'll have data to
Good.
report the reasons for the call.
Mhm.
It's kind of a manual process for them to
Mhm.
track right now, so we're not necessarily going to track it permanently, continuously,
without
but
a
we
better
are,
process, yeah.
but we are to get some baselines. We'll probably do
Yeah.
some check-ins when we notice changes. Yeah.
Well, the only reason I was thinking of this is it may be something relevant for a future newsletter. If it's if it's
Sure.
a topic that keeps coming up that people are calling, that maybe it could be addressed through the.
Yes, and that's exactly why the communications committee asked, for that
Great.
information, for
Good.
the reasons for the call. And, we think it's so far, I think it's trending towards calling to make a payment because
Mhm.
they prefer to use that. But with the hard data, it just is an opportunity, I think, for us to continue to promote our automated systems that are available.
Okay, awesome.
Mhm.
Thank you.
I also want to just say I appreciate the greater transparency on the credit card charge reports.
Yeah.
Yep,
I don't know if
working
that
on that.
came out this month or last month, but it looks really nice.
Kind of evolved over the last few months. We've
Yeah.
been
I think it's
working to
great.
get that in.
Yeah.
I agree.
Um, any other engineering or administrative services? No?
Yeah, so since we write the reports for the previous month out at the 3 pump station sites, crews have been working 5 days a week and last week 7 days a week. So we had crews out there on our side with also with SDG&E, worked all day Saturday, all day Sunday. Pleased to announce that Rancho Amigos is fully powered up. So we're in the final stages of water quality testing. We're already coordinating with IT and operations for commissioning, getting ready to turn the keys over to that station. West Lilac is scheduled to be completed this weekend, and then Dentro de Lomas in the next 1.5 weeks. So SDG&E has been extremely
Yeah.
cooperative with the help of our general manager, Jake Wiley, pulling some strings, but much needed strings. And so it said that we're targeting for October and it's September, and one of them is already powered up.
Also, this weekend, driving back and forth and seeing the complexity
Yeah.
of this work
Cranes
with,
and
with the
booms.
cranes and
Mhm.
all. This is no simple feat
No.
that is occurring. So congratulations and thank you for making it a win-win that SDG&E came on the weekend. So very exciting to see it.
I don't know if it's an orchestra or circus or both, but it's
An orchestrated circuit.
that is what it is. It is a lot of moving parts
Yes.
and
Just to give you kind of the level of cooperation that we've got from SDG&E, which is, and it's excellent. On that Lilac pump station. So the work that you saw over the weekend, that actually crossed the line for inspection on Thursday.
Yeah.
And they came out Saturday with their construction crews. I mean, they have really, and we told them we would praise them if they did. And they have stepped up and we were, we reached across like, we want to work with you on this and really, came up with a pretty creative solution to kind of get this thing done. Cause that was our fear that it was going to be, these stations are going to be done and then just sitting out there waiting for power. Cause they have a lot of work to do and when they do, it's a lot of work, but they have really stepped up. And so we're, very pleased with what's gone on there.
Well, what I saw, because I had to keep coming back and forth, and it was very involved.
Yeah.
So I can't even go in. It was just like, what is going on here? Neighbors are calling me. Well, it's just, getting the pump
good
station,
thing.
but it was very well done.
Thank you.
Question for you. Would it be something that's normally done or not normally done? Maybe when this is all done, we send a letter to SDG thanking them
Oh.
for.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's a
Absolutely.
great idea.
At a minimum, I think we're gonna,
That's a
we're gonna,
That'd be-
sing their praises.
Well, maybe bring them here. So
Yeah.
they can
You already
thank them.
say,
Yeah.
do you bang the county commissioners with that as well, or or LAFCO or any of those other agencies saying, you know, we came in early because these guys really stepped up
stepped up to the
line,
plate.
you know,
I think so.
agree.
And that was kind of that was one of our pleas to him that, you know, feel like
Mhm.
this could be a good,
Good.
PR thing as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, PR thing as well. But really, I mean, that my conversations with them, they're very interested in, you know, at the level that they're responding to this. Very interested in coming out and seeing the projects. And I mean, that's, you know, I said, well, we'll probably have some kind of an event or something when we actually get them fully commissioned, and that will bring, we just want to come out and see and
Have a ribbon cutting and get them out there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but yeah, it's been really good. So that's some good news.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So we'll potentially be online by mid-October.
That's the stretch.
Early
November.
Early November.
Oh, yeah.
Is there something that can go on the website to update detachment? It's from, the last one's from July, it looks like.
I think so. And I think we had actually planned in the content in the newsletter to this, we know we did Thoroughbred last
Yeah.
month.
And
And we were going to do the pump station update. And so, yeah, we could just roll it. We'll update the story on the website with it.
Yeah.
That's what we did last time. That was the story that was in the newsletter.
Okay. Thank you.
I think it still applies though. It talks about November, right? November 1. Yeah.
Does it?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, it's
we have
it just has,
administrative services.
I don't know, do we have a separate section on the website for the pump
If there is
station
one.
projects? There's a CIP
Under the
section
construction.
that the pump station projects might be in.
It's like on the finance,
We did that.
operations. I'm missing one report,
Board of Directors.
engineering, I think.
Oh, no, it's there.
That's-
B.
No, we
Oh,
already
I'm
did
sorry,
that.
Chad. No, I'm sorry.
well,
Operations.
Operations.
Robert, nothing to report? Okay.
I'll report on his behalf. The work out at Gopher Canyon is set to start next week. So if you're driving down Gopher Canyon, you might see our crews out there laying some pipeline.
I noticed you were chasing a lot of leaks. A lot
Yeah.
of leaks.
We're in a little bit of a leak thing going on right now. We're trying to button up several jobs to get ready so we have crews available for Gopher Canyon.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Robert, I saw we had a leak on Huntley near my home. And I see now there is a portable hose. Looks like it's going from the meter to the house.
Yes.
What's going on there?
So sometimes to keep customers in water, we'll run, we call it Highline hose, and it's blue hose, and we'll run it from a fire hydrant to a meter. And it's like, sometimes it looks like fire hose or, garden hose. So that house up that private driveway, dirt driveway, there's a dead end line and that line blew out. So we shut the line down, but in order to
Is
keep
that
them,
our line?
but in order to keep them in water, we had to run that temporary high line.
So I was right by there when the crews were out there. Did we get much damage? I mean, it looked like a little runoff in the dirt. but not-
Yeah, that's all it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
No claims.
No.
Reports and comments. Legal counsel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I did a written report and employment law update. Recent California Supreme Court decision that ruled in favor of public agencies on the penalty provisions of the Private Attorney General Act, commonly referred to as PAGA. And it's an interesting case. It overturned prior appellate case law. This was a decision from the California Supreme Court holding that the penalty provisions under PAGA do not apply to public agencies. In this particular case involved the penalties for alleged violations of the labor code. And the Supreme Court looked closely at the actual statutory language and said, you know, the penalty language does not specifically include public agencies. We're going to use that statutory text together with the legislative history and public policy to hold that, you know, public agencies are not subject to these suits for civil penalties. So it's a significant decision in that it overturns the prior appellate case law. And also because many agencies have, you know, petitioned because the way PAGA is written, it's so broad. It's been a subject of a lot of, you know, abuse. Because it's called the Private Attorney General Act, which allows, aggrieved parties to not only behalf of, him or herself, but also other people and on behalf of the state. So it's just led to a lot of class action lawsuits. So it's a significant decision that limits liability exposure for public agencies. And the Supreme Court in its decision had a really nice quote. It said the higher penalties could impose a significant financial burden on public entities and in turn taxpayers, which would ultimately serve to hinder the ability of public agencies to carry out their public mission. So very good decision from our president. That concludes my report. Unless there are any questions.
Thank you. General Manager's report.
Yeah, I think we've done enough reports today. That's,
Okay.
that's the big stuff that's going on. We will have a busy couple of months here, October and November, both on the committee side and the board side. So appreciate the time.
Board member comments?
Clarification, please. Does that replace director's report?
Yes.
Then I have a report or a comment. I had the honor of attending at Eastern Municipal Water District, the agricultural customer listening session with Metropolitan Water District on August 29th. Very informative. It was an opportunity for ag ratepayers to, some of them very large, some wineries were present, but to hear their concerns and to have the discussions with colleagues throughout. So very impressive day. Thank you.
Okay, any others?
I do. I attended the CSDA conference in Indian Wells in early September, and I took the transparency class for elected officials and for other folks working at public agencies. Anyways, I have a certificate of transparency, which I understand will help us move forward with our transparency certificate as a district. So I owe that to you.
Thank you. Thanks for doing that.
Yes, and I went also, and I went to two different classes. One was very interesting. That was CalPERS. I was with Rick on that one, and they went over on their actuarials, which was kind of nice to learn how and why we have to pay what we do. And they gave a breakdown of the last 4 years. Like 4 years ago, they made a 20% profit, and then there was a negative profit, and then the next year was 5.7 or 6 points. It was because it was really weird. They told us their magical number they want to reach at 6.8, and where did you get that number? And they don't really, but it's their magical number. And this last year,
Cash in versus outflow.
I don't know, and this last year I think it was 9.8 profit they made, or 9.3. Yeah, and so that was good news. So that's less we have to pay. And then the other one was very fascinating. I think this could help the agency. This was on communication, how you get the word out of your agency to let your ratepayers know that maybe about breaks or shutdowns. And they had 8 different ways to get the message out. The number one, this firm did a collective everything was number one was Facebook. Number 2, they really were pushing Nextdoor, and they really went in depth how these little communities. And I was thinking again, I don't know if we could do it or not, but maybe again, unfortunately, Robert, I'm thinking how to give you guys more work, and I don't mean to do that properly, but you know how you sometimes let us know, you send us an email or a text that there's something. What do you think if we did something like that, like on Nextdoor or even on the website? Hey, currently we have a break on Rice Canyon, estimated water down for 8 hours, update at 4 PM, something like that.
So we have
We do that.
several different ways that we do that. We do put something on the website when we have shutdowns,
Mhm.
even if it's after hours. IT is really good about, we'll call them at 11 o'clock at night. You got to put something on the website for us. We have a reverse 911 where we'll call the customers and let them know. And we recently, Rick's team started where we send text messages out
Oh,
to
good.
people's phones if we have their, obviously their
Sure.
mobile phone
If-
number from
And
them.
if you read the last newsletter, there was a little footnote that said, make sure your contact
info.
information is up to date.
That's been a few months. We've made a pretty big
Very much
push
Yeah,
so.
we're
to try to
trying,
get.
it's gonna be kind of a
Yeah.
recurring reminder. that
Reminder.
We're gonna,
But I thought that was very, very good that someone actually had a class of how to help get the word out to
Yep.
your players. And one last thing was very interesting. Number 3 was actually TikTok. And they said this was really concerning, but they showed this graph how TikTok is just skyrocketing over the other medias and how it's fast it's going. So they just said, might something to be
That's because they were kicking them out of the country.
but it was pretty fascinating.
I'm believing, Carlene, you can chime in on the social media part, but Carlene and her team's working on getting that situated and defining some policies about that. So, and we just don't want a utility worker 3 going on social media and putting something out there, right? It needs to be very specific, and we don't want to get into the back and forth with people on social media of why we're doing it and things like that.
Well, I thought everything was I just want information, not back and forth, but just information where there's really not, you are able to go back and just information.
Right. And I think with our ratepayers, we have a really diversified group of people, right? So we have young people, people that are very modern, can use social media. Some people are more apt to check the website. Some people appreciate the text messages. Some people appreciate the reverse 911s. And then on top of all that, we will still get calls. Customer service will get called. I was never notified of the shutdown. So we're try all these different facets to hit them, and then and we still get calls once in a while.
Yeah,
Like a moving target.
It is.
it is.
It truly is. Yeah.
So we've talked about that in the communications meeting is how do we, what are all the facets we can do to do outreach? Anything from alerts to just general notifications.
yeah, so we actually did research specific to the demographics of the residents in our district, which has a higher than typical percentage of retiree age. And so we kind of cross-referenced that against the demographics of the users of specific social media channels. And the one channel that was pretty much universal regardless of generation, especially now that they have the short form video similar to TikTok, was YouTube. For the, informational videos and things like that.
They brought that up. They said the key with YouTube though is keep it under 15 seconds. They said you lose people's attention. And that's why they said TikTok is skyrocketing.
That's
because they're so short.
exactly. Now YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, they have the reels. They're all kind of mimicking the TikTok effect. So people can create one video and post it in all of those places. So those are things that we are working on moving forward with. What we want to do it with a clear plan and parameters. Staff knows who's authorized to post. Board members know what you're allowed to, how you're allowed to reply. If ratepayer reaches out to you, oh, I saw this post, and or if there's a thread, so that you all know how to stay in compliance with the laws that pertain to elected officials as well on those.
See, what I like about it is if there was something about they didn't get the word, it'd be nice for our PR. Hey, we do this, this, and this. And if it was like 4 or 5, I think it shows we did our due diligence to get the word out, whatever it might have been.
Yeah. Great.
Any other board comments? Board reports, San Diego County Water Authority?
There wasn't a lot on the agenda this month. I did attend.
We're not paying the 12 million.
Yeah, we talked about that. The only real, significant action, they did elect a new board chair,
Yeah.
vice chair. And it kind of just followed, vice chair Nick Serrano October 1st, I think, takes over as the board chair. And Frank Hilliker, who was the secretary, is becoming vice chair, and Joy Lines.
Is Serrano vice chair?
From Encinitas, yeah, San Diego, is now the secretary.
Okay.
Now the secretary, so.
And Serrano was vice chair, so he's just,
Yeah.
everybody's just moving up.
Yeah, and it alternates between a City of San Diego member, and so, yeah, this was the year that, this is San Diego's year to have or 2 years. It's a 2-year
Every
term.
third year.
Yeah, every third term, right? So that's what they'll have for next couple of years.
CSDA?
Just a report that we did have our conference, our annual conference. It was in Indian Wells. I also attended. And also I am on the finance core board, and we did have our annual meeting at the conference, and it was well attended. Thank you.
And Julie, didn't you tell us you got appointed to some position?
The finance core. Oh, I was.
Yes, I think I was
Oh,
very proud of you. What was it?
Thank you. I am the secretary.
Of the Finance Corp Board?
Yep.
Oh, very good.
Hmm.
Congratulations.
Well, let's put it this way. I didn't really have a voice in this, but thank you.
Voluntold, huh?
Must mean that you're doing a good job.
LAFCO?
LAFCO, oh goodness. I have nothing to report on LAFCO.
Nothing to report on the Santa Margarita River watershed. Aqua?
Aqua has their fall conference coming December 3rd through the 7th. Something like that, or 5th through the 7th,
2nd through the 6th, I believe.
whatever Teresa says, she rocks. That's it.
Also on Aqua, Aqua recently did a continuing legal education workshop a couple of weeks ago. And for the Aqua member agency legal counsel, and they asked me to be a presenter. Honored for that. The
Or in
topic,
December?
yeah, well, just a couple of weeks ago, not this past Wednesday, but the Wednesday before. And the topic was, the laws and legal principles for Aqua member agency general counsel.
Wonderful.
Wow.
Wonderful.
Cool.
That's great.
Committees, workshops, seminars and training, any, well, you reported on your transparency class. Director Dale did. If nothing else, request to attend upcoming meetings, conferences or seminars? None?
I do have one, no cost to the ratepayers. But I'm very honored to have been selected to attend the State Water Project Tour. And Eastern Municipal Water District will be the host for us. So,
Oh, Eastern's offering that.
yes.
And if I may, on behalf of Director Townsend Smith, she had requested to attend the Colorado River Users Annual
Okay.
Conference. And also we have a region.
Do we need approvals on these?
Colorado River Users, I believe, yes, it's occurring the same time as Aqua in December. And so I think a few of us are going to, we'll be at Aqua. But yeah, Director Townsend Smith requested to attend the Colorado River Users Association, which is a good conference.
But it has nothing to do with CSDA or Aqua?
It doesn't, so it requires approval. That's true.
So is this something our agency has done before?
Not to my knowledge. I think it's relevant.
Is this a tour or is it a conference?
No, it's a conference.
A conference.
It's a
okay.
conference. So yeah, basically everything to do about Colorado River.
River, which has an impact on us indirectly.
it the same cost as Aqua?
I'm not sure of the exact cost.
In this case, it's gonna be a little bit more only because it's in Las Vegas, so she'll have a flight as well as accommodations.
The only thing about that, which I will agree with Tom, no,
Yeah.
Tom's no longer here. Going to Las Vegas, I think is a bad PR. Just because,
Reputation.
yeah, I just don't think that's a good idea.
Well, I think, it's not till December.
December.
Right. So maybe next month when Director Townsend
Yeah.
Smith's here, she
Yeah.
can kind of tell us a little more about,
Yeah.
Okay.
the.
Because there may be some
kind of
So we'll
purpose
specific
in that.
things that
We'll
she
defer
really
that
wants to
request
attend.
to the next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. And we also have a Region 10 on October 15th.
But that's Aqua,
That is Aqua.
so. And does mine need approval?
Which
No.
one?
Going to the state water?
No,
project?
no,
No,
there's
that's a
no
funded-
cost to the
funded
district.
program.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, the Aqua regional event looks very interesting. So
Mhm.
I'm interested to hear what you learn.
Yeah, Michael's gonna go to that. Thank you.
Suggest agenda items for next regular board meeting.
Do we need to take action on that last one?
No, I think
No,
we're gonna
we
defer,
defer-
defer the one
Oh, but
until
for Michael.
October.
No, it's all.
It's
Suggested
Aqua.
agenda items?
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
To 10 a.m. on October 30th. Adjournment to 10 a.m. on October 30th. Are you having a special board meeting early?
That's a
Yes.
great question.
It's actually late
Either.
just to ensure a quorum. We've moved that from the regular date of the 22nd.
Well, that.
So the
will-
answer is yes. There will be a
Special.
board meeting on October 30th.
Is there also one on the 22nd?
There will not.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
Website's been updated. Yeah.
I
22nd.
just checked. It didn't say that
No?
I will.
because I
update-
thought I could answer that question and it still said the 30th. Well, it says the 30th, but it didn't give me anything about time or anything. So
I was just wondering, is there any update? I know we had two agriculture ratepayers come to our last meeting. And they talked about the chloride in their water. Is there any update on that?
Well, the chlorides that is I'll speak about this a little bit further. It's really just what comes from Metropolitan. There's really not much we can do about it. And the question was brought up and it's fair. Well, have we told them that it's an issue for us? Are they going to adjust their blend at Skinner for us? I don't know. But right now there is, the last I checked, I think it was, it was 80-20, Colorado River versus, State Project, which that drives up the TDS anytime it's, high on the Colorado River side, it drives up TDS and the chlorides. That's a function of that TDS number. The good thing is one of it was Rick Carey who was here at the meeting and he's always been very concerned about salts. It does impact avocado production. We understand that, and they have to do a lot of flushing and things like that when we have salty water or the TDS is up. We invited him to that ag listening session. So Metropolitan actually at that session gave a update on their Camp for Water process, which is really looking at their entire business, right? Which projects are they going to do? How much supply do they need? Their business model, all these different things. And so we actually gave them the direct input to the board chair at Metropolitan and some of the people that are really putting together kind of their plan. And they were appreciative of the comments, admitted that sometimes that's not in their plane of thinking is how this is impacting, agriculture. And so they're very appreciative of hearing those things. And they did say too, I'm not sure we're going to be able to adjust our blend to accommodate lower TDS, but at least it's on the radar, right?
Yeah.
That, hey, this isn't without impact to some of our customers. And so I think he was pretty appreciative of being given a voice.
Sure.
To do that. That was in response to him coming in. And so I appreciate let us know, and then
Yeah.
we were able to kind of bring him and some others too. Some folks from Delray came. Really, all the ag customers, almost all the ag customers that were in that room, other than ag customers that are also board members of some of these other agencies, were all from our service area. They all came from our service area. So there's some passion. There's some passion around here.
There is.
Yeah.
And the only other comment I have is in conversations with some of our ratepayers, one ratepayer requested me to bring up to this meeting the concern of the hardness of the water and that we have, and that he was wanting me to suggest that we look into somehow to have water softeners. That is not my expertise, but he was concerned of the pipes going into their residencies with hard water. We talked about regulators for them going in past the rainbow water, but he asked for me just to bring it up for an awareness to.
Yeah, that goes back to TDS again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to let everyone know this was a comment that was made of a ratepayer to me.
I appreciate that.
Are we on number 15?
I'm sorry?
Are we on 15?
Yes.
So I know that the last meeting, Director Johnson asked about the fixed fees, and I would also be interested in looking at those, especially in the context of detachment and whether there's any movement that can be done with the fixed fees.
Yeah, and I think the plan, given an overview of kind of the development of the rate structure and that at the budget and finance meeting October, and then bring it to the board too. I think budget and finance is interested as well. Yeah, so we'll go back over kind of how those were developed.
And okay, is it just we're going to see how they're developed, or we're going to see whether there's any ability to make any changes to them?
Well, I think, as we, I mean, you've seen the kind of the financial plan going forward. And I think, some of those exact rate differentials will be brought forward in the next couple of months as we actually hone in on that date for detachment. Couple of factors there. I mean, if we do detach early, there's some additional savings there. So we're going to be talking through, some of those things, and also, some of the rate impacts going forward. So, so more to come on that.
One last thing that I think is very exciting, and that is the staff here working with Bonsall Unified High School. And I believe this month, coming up in October, we have staff members that will be presenting in the classrooms. So I would love to have that on the agenda so we can hear possibly how it went, but also some voices from the students and their perception of what was most interesting to them, as because I think it's commendable what we are doing in that education with our students here. But I would love, if possible, to hear some students and how they are benefiting from this outreach.
Okay.
Anything else? Then we are adjourned to closed session. We'll take a 15-minute break. 10-minute break.
Sure.
Did he not want to have Rick speak to us?
Let me know what you need. I think he's handling it from there.
Okay.
We are resuming open session for the Rainbow Municipal Water District Board of Directors meeting for September 24th, 2024. Coming out of closed session. Council, is there anything to report?
Thank you, Mr. President. The board met in closed session to discuss public employee performance evaluation pursuant to Government Code Section 54957, Title General Manager, and there is no reportable action.
Thank you. We are adjourned.
All right, please. All right.